Everyone, this is Letty for the Smash and Skull sessions. I apologize for my hair. It looks pretty bad. Tried a new hair product. But I am joined by Sammy Urwin from Employed to Serve. Sammy, how are you doing?
I'm good, thanks. Well, I'm self-conscious about my hair now because yours definitely looks a lot nicer than mine does currently. I'm a wash every other day like kind of person, and I'm on the like no wash day, and it's definitely like starting to slick back.
No, mine just looks really, really greasy. I've just washed, I swear, and I did blow dry it.
I believe you.
So, to our listeners who maybe haven't heard of you before, could you introduce yourself and your role in the band?
Yes, indeed. So yeah, as you said, my name is Sammy. I play guitar and do vocals in Employed to Serve. I'm not the lead vocalist, but slowly but surely I'm taking on a more prominent role and stepping on Justine's toes, who is our lead vocalist.
Sammy Uprising coming 2025, 2026.
Taking over. Yeah.
So how did the band start?
So it was me and Justine. So me and Justine are married, and we've been together now. It will be 17 years this year, which is crazy.
That's
Like
mad.
it was obviously 16 last year, and it didn't seem that crazy. But for some reason, 17. I think because it's getting ever closer to 20 years, it's a bit like whoa. But yeah. So we've been together for 5 years when we started Employed to Serve. So we felt it was about time. Some people do other things when they've been in a long relationship, like maybe get a cat, buy a house. Me and Justine were like, let's start a metal band. And yeah, and it's just sort of gone on from there, really. I've been in bands, well, I was in bands for years before Employed to Serve started. Justine's always been like big into music and involved in the scene in different ways. She used to do like a lot of photography and like web design and stuff like that. And she was just like, you know what, I really want to be in a band. And I was just like, well, you should have a go, screaming, doing vocals, because I'm pretty adamant that, like, obviously it takes practice and skill, but a bit like singing, everyone's kind of got some ability there. You just have to kind of practice at it and, find out what works for you. And luckily, Justine was like quite a natural at doing vocals. So we were like, sick, let's record stuff. So we started off just as a recording project. Made a couple of demos and EPs just at home. Eventually wanted to play live, so we enlisted the help from some friends, and yeah, it's just been sort of rolling ever since then. Different people have come and gone throughout the years, but that's kind of how the ball got rolling.
How the curl of the burrow works.
Exactly.
I can just imagine in your wedding vows, you'd be like, we promise to split all song royalties 25% for how many members are in the band.
Yeah, yeah. We got down to the nitty gritty just to make sure it was all in order. There was my brother did, well, he was my best man, so he did a speech and he included like a bunch of like YouTube comments, like some of the funny ones. And I remember my favorite was like this girl's got balls and balls are good. And we like rocked up in, we used to have like an old ex-Royal Mail postal van was our like tour van, and that's like what we drove to on the wedding day and stuff. So the band is interlinked in in everything somehow.
I love it. I love it. You guys have just got off tour in the UK. How was it?
It was fantastic, thanks. Yeah, like the shows were awesome. It was so nice. We had quite a quiet year for gigging last year, so it was just nice to get out, do a bunch of shows back to back, and see people again. Like, we're big fans of going to like the merch desk after the show and just like chatting with people, and that's always nice to, yeah, kind of remind you of like why you do this, especially after having a year of all the sort of boring stuff, of getting stuff together and planning things and all the all that kind of gubbins. So that was really nice. And we were out with Celestial Sanctuary and Burner as well, who are not only good friends of ours, but are both awesome bands. So, getting to hear them play every night is always a good way to get you pumped up to play. But it was such a short run. It's like, so by, the fourth or fifth day, you're like, right, I'm kind of slotting into a groove here, and you're like, it's over. So you're just kind of counting down the days now until we get to get back at it, really.
Yeah, and you guys, perfect timing actually with this interview, have announced a tour, Kill Switch Engage,
Yes.
with going over to Europe with Fit for an Autopsy and Decapitated. Absolutely stoked.
Yes, yeah, us too. Like, yeah, when the offer came through, we are just like, amazing. Yeah, absolutely perfection. Couldn't ask for a better tour to be on, and was so keen to get back out to Europe as well. So yeah, just couldn't come at a better time.
Part of me is sad that you're not coming over to play Dublin or Belfast, but a part of me is just like, hate breed, but
I
employed to
know.
serve.
That's the thing. It's like, obviously would love to do like the UK and Ireland dates, but if anyone's gonna boot us off the tour, I'm happy for it to be Hatebreed. You know what I mean? That's fair play. Can't argue with that. So we'll let him have
Uh,
it.
you're letting them have your spot. You fought tooth and nail for it.
That's it. Yeah.
Speaking of Ireland, speaking of tour, my first introduction to you guys was when you played in the National Stadium with Gojira and Alien Weaponry.
Oh,
How
shit.
was that tour?
I mean, yeah, talk about dream tours. That's, yeah, another one for us where I think even still to this day, even though, it's a couple of years ago now, we still can't actually believe that it happened. Growing up listening to Gajira and getting to do those, huge shows with them was just, yeah, it was fantastic. And we became firm friends with Alien Weaponry as well, who I must say their latest record is absolute dynamite. So yeah, it was just, yeah, like I say, a dream come true. I mean, I really just took the opportunity to watch Gashira play every night. I think there was probably only a handful of dates that I didn't do that, but I imagine it will be a similar scenario on the Killswitch tour. It's like, sweet, I get a chance to watch Killswitch play for free for like 20 nights. So I'm gonna take it.
Sure, take it while you can.
Yeah.
And
Absolutely.
how was your introduction to Ireland and stuff? Was that the first time you'd been over?
Oh no, we've been over quite a few times before. I'm trying to think now. First time. Oh yeah, was it? So we've been over a few times. So we've been over with Black Peaks, and we've done a couple of our own shows over there as well. You know what? I think it was, yeah, I think it was about 10 years ago, actually, thinking about it now. Yeah, almost to the month. Came over with a friend's band called Pariso and a band from Ireland called Hornets, who I don't know if they're still going, but they were awesome. So the guys in Hornets hooked the shows up. And I think we just did three shows. I think it was yeah, Belfast, Dublin, and
Probably
Cork.
Cork or Limerick, yeah.
Yeah, that's it. We have done Limerick as well and Galway, but I think that first time it was those three. And yeah, just awesome. Like, I just remember everyone being super, super welcoming, and just, yeah, it was just really cool to. It's kind of weird because, like, I was probably early 20s at that point, and having not visited Ireland just felt kind of strange because it's so close.
Yeah.
But I'd never been. And it was a great excuse to go over there to visit, to play shows, and particularly be with a band who's from Ireland as well, who could kind of give us like the proper, rundown of stuff and show us around, introduced us to oh shit, Beamish, in Cork, which was very tasty.
I was 12 when you first came over to Ireland.
That's crazy. Isn't that mad? Like, that's funny because like 10 years to me, I've reached that point in my life now where 10 years to me doesn't seem like that crazy, but you're still in that like sphere where it's like you were literally a child. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
10 years ago, which is, yeah, that's wild.
Yeah, I'm in my early 20s now. I'm 22 now. My 23rd birthday is in June. So just
Oh,
hearing
no
you say,
way. When in June?
yeah,
I'm a June baby too.
the 23rd.
I'm the 12th. It's a good, well, I was going to say it's a good month for a birthday, but it usually rains. At least it does here anyway.
I was celebrating my 18th birthday over COVID.
Oh, that's rough. That is rough. Yeah, that was a lot of thing me and my friends were saying. It's like, yo, could be worse. You could be celebrating your 80th birthday in COVID.
And it was a shame because what was it? My Chemical Romance had just gotten back together and they were going to play their reunion show on the 23rd of June in 2020.
That is brutal. Did you at least get to see it like on the rescheduled like dates?
Oh yeah, I didn't sell my tickets or anything. I was like, oh, just be for my 19th birthday next year.
Yeah. Was it, or was it like 2 years after the fact in the end?
Trying to think. Yeah, I think it was in 2022 when we actually got to see them.
At least it happened though. At least it happened. You know, so many of those COVID shows that never got rescheduled. I think the big one for me was Rage Against the Machine was supposed to like do. Oh, was that COVID or I can't remember now.
They were
Like,
going to play the year of COVID because I remember they were going to play Electric Picnic over here in Ireland in
yeah,
August, September.
yeah, it was COVID, wasn't it? Yeah, so that
Yeah,
happened, and then Zach broke his leg, and then it never got
fizzled
rescheduled.
out. Yeah.
So at least you did get to see MCR in the end. That's the
My
main.
one for me, and I still haven't gotten over it, was Deftones.
Oh no, have they not been back over since?
No, they were going to come over with Gojira and Poppy, going to play the Free
Oh
Arena,
yeah, I remember that tour.
and then they postponed it because COVID and all that, and then they cancelled it because they couldn't find the venue to fit them for the dates that they wanted.
Yeah, see, that was, well, I was going to say a problem we were facing, a problem pretty much every band was facing during COVID. It was just like everything getting pushed back, and then yeah, there was some crazy tour routings in the post-COVID world. I think people were just taking whatever they could, but that we were worried about that being the case with like our Gojira tour as well, because that got pushed back, I think only once in the end. But you know, we saw a few cases where tours were completely scrapped, and obviously that was such like a dream come true for us. We were just like, we don't care when it happens, as long as it does happen, you know.
And did that show when you played the National Stadium, did that change venue? I have a feeling you're supposed to play somewhere else.
Could well have done, because I think maybe that was one of the shows that was somewhat affected when it got pushed back. Maybe it was elsewhere, because that venue is more famously like a sports hall, isn't it? Or like a
The boxing ring.
yeah, yeah, because we were like in the sort of like the green rooms were just like the changing rooms for like the boxers and stuff, and there was like all manner of like punching bags and stuff like that backstage that we were being idiots trying to use.
They've only, I think, only a few gigs in it this year. They've got Coheed and Cambria in July with Alexis is on fire, however you pronounce it.
I still don't know to this day. Yeah, like I had an existential crisis when I realized it could actually be Alex is on fire. I was like, no, have I been saying it wrong my whole life? Like, yeah, still don't know. I don't want to know actually. It'll ruin the mystery.
And Denzel Curry, the rapper's coming over, but it's such an odd venue because the lower seats you can't use because all the standings there. That's where the ring's supposed to be.
Yeah, yeah, it was an interesting layout. That's for sure. Like you definitely like it was cool to play there. And it totally worked, but you could definitely vibe that it wasn't purpose built for shows.
Yeah.
But it made for an interesting experience though.
And did you play the download where it was all masked over COVID? I think that was.
We did. That was cool. So yeah, the pilot. That's probably like one of my favorite shows ever. And not only just for the show, but probably I'm sure you and many other people had the same experience. Like the first time you went to like a big event after COVID, it felt special, because we'd been deprived of it for so long. It was like a really dreamy day. And obviously catching up with so many people we hadn't seen in so long as well. And unfortunately for our other guitar player, David, it was his first show of the band. So talk about, trial by fire. But he smashed it though. So
Because I remember looking up, I obviously couldn't go download because of flight restrictions and all that over here. But I remember looking up because then Shikari was one of the headliners for it, and I looked it up, and someone had like filmed the whole set on YouTube and all that. I just remember the person panning to the crowd and people giving out in the comments, "They're not wearing their masks! Oh my god!"
yeah. It's like it's okay. It's an experiment. They're allowed because there were people like wandering about in, all the kind of like, I don't know, Resident Evil sort of like plague, sort of like we're like the guinea pigs they're experimenting on kind of thing. Because I think people were actually encouraged not to wear masks. I think that was like the whole deal of it. It was kind of like, let's see if these people get ill and see what happens. You know what I mean?
I don't remember seeing that. I just remember them being like, you know what's happening, but you have to wear a mask kind of thing. Maybe that was implemented later.
Maybe. I don't think no, from my recollection, I don't think it was a mask thing. I think you had to do the whole test, prove that you weren't infected. God, I'm really making it sound like a zombie apocalypse now. Yeah, you had to do all of that. But I think they wanted to see that if they kind of took these precautions of, doing the tests and stuff like that, would there be like an outbreak afterwards? That being said, I don't know how they followed up on that to see if people got ill afterwards. Maybe you could go online and tell people. I don't know. But
Statistics for download 2022 or whatever.
it was an interesting experience though. And like I've still got the t-shirt and like the download dog's got like a swab in his mouth and stuff. So it'll be like one of those t-shirts I pull out like 30 years from now and I'm like, oh, that's so weird.
I remember Corn. They were like one of the first bands to capitalize off of it. They just literally had surgical masks with Corn written on the side of it. It was a pack of free for like $20.
Oh, amazing. Yeah, I mean, those bands who got on all of that early must have made an absolute killing. I feel bad for like the bands who kind of finally got some masks made towards the tail end and have now got like thousands of them stuck in their garage.
Oh, was it? I think I went onto the Pantera website the other day and they're still trying to sell them.
Oh no, yeah. Probably just like giving them away at this point, I guess.
I think they're down to like $1 or something like that.
Oh God. Yeah. Probably seemed wise at the time, but
You guys have released your new album, Fallen Star. How was the recording process for it?
it was cool and it was leisurely as well. So we finished that. Oh God, we finished that in like January 2023. No, 2024. Sorry, not that long ago. God. So we were working, way ahead of schedule. And when we were recording it, we knew we probably weren't going to put it out in 2024. We were going to wait until this year just so we could like really get everything together and just not rush things. So it was I know it doesn't sound very like metal to say, but it was quite a peaceful, enjoyable time. We've also as well, like this being our fifth album, we've just like between us and our longtime producer Lewis Johns, we've just worked out like a good sort of pace to do things at and how to split it up as well. So we used to do like this stupid thing of like vocals is usually like the last thing to go on top of a song, but we used to record like everything and then like Justine would have to come in for like the final few days and blow her voice out by just recording song after song. But we broke up the recording and we did like a couple of songs like on drums and guitar, and then Justine would come in and do vocals. And since everything's recorded to a click track, even if we didn't have everything done, Justine could like record to like my scratch guitars from like the demo and stuff, and it takes the pressure off her when she can do that. That means she can do like two songs at a time rather than just coming in on the last couple of days and crucifying her voice, which she has done and I've done as well. Like I think like on one of the albums I did like all of my vocal parts in one day, and then we had to go on tour straight after that, and I'm surprised my voice ever came back. But yeah, it was really cool. And like on this record as well, there's like a lot of extra elements. Like we've really experimented with synths and keys and stuff like that. And I sort of most of those were like composed at home by me, but on really sort of like rudimentary sounding like synth stuff. Like obviously Lewis Johns, our producer, he's much better at finding good sounds. So we had a lot of time to kind of sit in the studio and mess around with synthesizers and work out what sounds cool. Which is always the key thing. That's another thing we learned over time. It's like always allow yourself to have like a good couple of days after you've finished the initial tracking just to sit there and do dumb shit. Like the album starts with that song Treachery that has me doing like a Tom Araya Angel of Death scream, and that's exactly the stupid shit I'm on about. Like you need those extra days at the end of recording just to be sat there and be like, I have an idea. Can I can I give this a go, please? um, which maybe for some people that's a bad thing that I have too much time to try these things out. But for me, I'm stoked. But yeah, no, like always, working with Lewis, we had a great time, and this one particularly was a really nice recording experience.
It's always like those moments of like, oh, I have an idea where some of the funner elements come in. Like, I remember watching, do you know the making of the Black Album by Metallica?
Oh yeah, I love it.
And they had all the little After Effects bit, and it was really cool seeing what they were doing. Like, was it James brought a rifle and was doing like the clicking noise on every second downbeat?
That is one of my favorite clips of all time. It's so good. And he looks so serious whilst he's doing it as well. Like it doesn't look like there's any irony going on. He's like, no, hell yeah, this is
It's
sick.
literally just it's like it's mad.
But that's exactly it though. It's those little bits, but they can really add the extra the extra flavor that it needs. Maybe we should try like cocking a gun on the next record.
I've listened so hard to try and hear it, but I can't hear it unfortunately. Maybe I need better headphones.
Maybe that's it. You have to spend out like thousands and thousands of pounds just to get the headphones so you can hear James Hetfield cocking the rifle.
I went on a whole Reddit rabbit hole one of the days, being like, "Oh, where's the gun clicking in the song? I can't hear it."
I love it. There's just like thousands of people out there just trying to like pinpoint it. To be fair, I don't know if like I've ever been like, oh, there it is. I've definitely heard like there's that shot of Lars with like the tambourine and like nothing else matters. And I'm a big fan of a tambourine, I must say. It's a bit of a weird thing to be a big fan of, but I do love a bit of tambourine.
Ah, it's making a comeback, the tambourine.
Ah, some say it never went away. We've had a lot of tambourine on ETS records over the years, but I've been replaced by robots now. Like I used to actually record the tambourine, but why bother now when there's just an Apple loop and you can chuck it in.
Ah, boo.
It sucks. It sucks. I get excited as well. I'm like, oh, do you want me to record tambourine? And Lewis is like, nah, don't worry about it. Oh, shit.
Just take up a really impractical instrument that they can't replicate, like a xylophone or like something like that.
We're talking now. I'm trying to even think if we've had a bit of xylophone subtly in the mix. Like I'm sure it's been. Yeah, actually, come to think of it, so the last song on the album, From This Day Forward, it's like this big epic closer, and there's like this piano line at the end of the track before it goes into the blast beats. I'm pretty sure I put xylophone under, like, not actually, I didn't actually play it. I cheated and did it on MIDI, but I'm pretty sure there's xylophone there. So
I'm gonna have to listen to the whole album again and try listen for it.
that's it. You have to pick out the xylophone. It should hopefully be a little bit more apparent than James Hetfield with the rifle.
I'll get back to you on that over
Yeah,
email. And on the album, you've collaborated with Will Ramos from Lorna Shore, Serena Cherry, and Jesse Elise from Killswitch Engage. How was it working with these guys?
Blooming amazing, stupendous. Yeah, and all for kind of different reasons, really. So I'll start with Will. I mean, I guess overall for all of them, I can say it's amazing working with them because they're all individually amazing artists and they really like brought their
The
certain
flair.
flavor. Yeah, exactly. Their own identity to the tracks, you know what I mean? And they really like by being there and doing what they do, bumped it up a whole nother level, you know. And yeah, with Will, I mean, we didn't realize we weren't aware of his like covers that he does. So we didn't know he did these like Sleep Token covers, and we didn't know he could sing. So when we asked him to be on the track, we usually give like a brief, but we say like, here's what we're thinking, but like you can do whatever you want, get creative with it. So we only initially kind of expected him to do the verse where he's doing his usual like monster vocals. But then we got it back and he'd sung the last chorus and we were like, holy shit, that's amazing. Because I mean, the dude's got pipes on him for sure. And also it's such a talking point to have him singing on the record as well. Because I'm like, he's done a lot of singing covers, but I don't think he's done a whole lot of actually singing on a studio release. So we were like, wow, that's awesome. And thank you for kind of going that extra mile, to deliver something special, for the track.
You didn't you didn't go the whole route of Will Ramos actually sings on our song, not clickbait, 100% with like a red
100%,
circle.
100%. Yeah. Well, inadvertently, it definitely kind of like helped in that way. And then like, because there was definitely like a few outlets that were like first time ever on a track, and then I think a few people were like, nah, he sang on this or whatever. So I've not actually fact checked it, to be fair. So he might have done it before, but either way, it definitely, added a talking point for us, that's for sure. And it's kind of funny now to think of that song without that, because that obviously we didn't plan for that to be there. And we, without it now, for me, it would be so weird to not have Will delivering that like sick crooning last chorus, because he smashes it. I mean, the dude's got like, I don't know, he's got like 11 people rolled up into one body, I think, with the amount of different vocal styles he can do. I mean, he's just, yeah, phenomenal. Yeah, so that covers Will. And then with Jesse, sort of similar thing actually. I mean, he definitely, we gave him the brief. And that once again was more just kind of the breakdown towards the end. But he's a creative dude, and he was just like, oh, if you don't mind, I just kind of want to like mess around with a few other bits. And he added those bits in the chorus where it's kind of a bit more of his kind of like sung pitched kind of screaming, which was awesome. I mean, I feel like from him doing that he kind of really delivered the full Jesse Leach package there, because we kind of got the singing, and then we got those like sick, like, yeah, high vocals that he does as well. Yeah. And like I mean, it'd be a good thing to talk about the videos as well for those tracks with Will and Jesse. So we flew out to the States to do those last year, so that they could actually be in the music video. So not only were they willing to go above and beyond with like delivering their performance, but Jesse came down to the shoot where it was happening and turned up early, and we just hung out, and such a nice dude, which is nice because now we know him pretty well. So come this tour with Killswitch later in the year, we'll already sort of know each other a little bit, and not meeting each other for the first time. And then with Will, we went to his house to shoot the bits with Will. So all the bits
nice.
in the Atonement video, that's all in like Will's garage, which is like which was an experience, in itself, because it was, quite a small garage. And I'm like, Justine's there shouting at Will. I'm in the corner, like pressing play on my laptop. So they've got like playback. And it was definitely one of those moments where I'm just like, this is mental. Like, it's such a weird situation to be in, but such a cool situation to be in at the same time. Just like in, somewhere in the States in Will Ramos's like garage shooting a music video. So yeah, I mean, for the two of them to, give up their time to do that as well, couldn't thank them enough. It was, yeah, awesome to collaborate musically, but also on the visuals as well. And then with Serena, I mean, Serena's been a friend of ours for years. So we go way back with Serena and Svalbard. I mean, like, majority of all of our first shows with Svalbard, we used to play with each other literally like every other month. A lot of our early tours were with Svalbard, and like we're good friends as well. She doesn't live far from us, and she comes over for dinner quite a lot. So it kind of felt weird that we'd never collaborated, because we, particularly on the first couple of records, we got friends from when the band started to feature on the record. So it kind of felt weird that Serena was missing. And it just so happened this spot on Last Laugh came up, which she was perfect for. And it's another one as well where if her part wasn't on the track, I just honestly don't think the track would be anywhere like near as good. Like, her kind of like ethereal sounding vocals just add that sort of like dynamic that track needs, because it's quite like a sort of like just like ploddy rock track, full to the floor, kind of one sort of pace the whole way through. And it kind of needs that moment of like to bring the track down and kind of take it into a valley for a little bit. And yeah, her voice just fit the track perfectly. So smashed it.
It's like you're finding missing puzzle pieces for the last bits of the songs within Jesse and Will and Serena, like adding all their own little spices and flair to it.
Absolutely. It's like, we're definitely a band who likes to experiment with our sound as well, and particularly on this record, that it kind of goes in a lot of different places, and sometimes the track might need something that a member of the band actually can't provide. So being able to collaborate, with other artists is a good way to do that, because yeah, we find it exciting to kind of, have an explore and sort of try different things out. I mean, Last Laugh for us is quite a different track. It's a lot more kind of like gothic and rocky sounding compared to a lot of our other material. But that's like my favorite thing about writing music is, never repeating yourself and, experimenting with things.
Someone I think that's just popped into my head that I think I'd like to see Employed to Serve collaborate with, probably be Noah Sebastian.
Oh, who's that?
Um,
Sorry.
from Bad Omens.
Oh, okay. Is that the vocalist?
Yes,
Oh, yeah, absolutely. That dude has got pipes on him. Like, yeah, that would be sick.
I think that's his name. I apologize if I'm wrong, but come on, get the Employed to Serve and Bad Omens collab underway.
Get him on the phone right now. Where you at? Get down here. Vocals in my bathroom right now. Let's go. But yeah, I mean, absolutely. I think now as well, like in the metal world, it's more usual that people collaborate and do stuff. And I think there being more emphasis on singles these days because, the streaming world, it kind of opens up, there's a lot of negatives to say about the streaming world. But I think with that particular point, the emphasis being on singles, it does kind of create this like opportunity for bands such as ourselves to kind of break a little bit out of our comfort zone and try different things out. And yeah, like I say, we're really keen on just sort of experimenting and getting a bit weird with stuff and just sort of seeing what works.
And that's a good way to be. You're having fun with it as well as creating something cool.
Absolutely, yeah. And I think that is, you kind of like hit on the key thing about being in a band always is having fun. I mean, you obviously have to watch yourself sometimes and make sure like, right, does this still sound like us? It's like I guess there's definitely a line with any band or artist that you kind of have to kind of work out, like maybe that's kind of stepping too far, or that's a bit weird if we do that. But I think, for me at least anyway, being experimental and particularly like bringing in melody and like the different textures with like the keys and the synthesizers, that's been like a huge part for me. I mean, like I said, this is like our fifth album now, and from the get-go we've never repeated ourselves really from album to album, and we just kind of want to do that going forwards, just keep it fun, keep it interesting, make sure everything we're putting out, we're like, this, at least to us, feels like the best we can do, and always have that like attitude in mind. You never want to be putting out a record and being like, I think this is what other people want to hear. And that shouldn't be the mission statement. It should always be like, do we love it? Yes. Okay, cool. Then that's the main thing.
Exactly. And I think big turning points. I think the top three players for innovating sounds and like just experimenting and stuff would be Bring Me the Horizon with Ammo,
Yeah.
Electric Cowboy,
Yeah.
and Ghost.
Absolutely. Yeah. And Ammo was like a real interesting moment for me. Like having like, I've always appreciated Bring Me the Horizon, but I've never kind of like followed their discography like super, super closely. But that one was quite a talking point for people because it really fused a lot of different genres together, didn't it? And I remember that being the kind of first album like in the modern age that I kind of took notice of, and it kind of like showed to me like, oh, like people these days, because of streaming services, listen to like a greater variety of music. Like the thing I talk about with a lot of people similar age to me, like early 30s, is that it's particularly within metal, but kind of on a greater sort of like musical spectrum as well. But like particularly in the metal world, it used to be like a lot more divided. You know what I mean? Like, if you're into death metal, you're into death metal, and then like black metal is over here and whatever. And like the rarely did like all the subgenres kind of mix. Whereas with like Ammo. I mean, not saying there's like death metal and black metal and Ammo, but there's so much going on in that in that on that record. You know what I mean? It's almost like listening to a Spotify playlist, right? Because it's
Yeah.
just kind of got a little bit of everything. And that's kind of my takeaway from that record. I was like, oh, okay, people are kind of consuming music a little bit differently now, and it's kind of less tribalism and less separation between music genres, which I think is really cool. You know what I mean? And I think it's only led to good things because you're seeing extreme metal bleed more into the mainstream, I think, as a result. I mean, you've got bands like Lorna Shore who play ridiculously extreme metal, who are huge. You know what I mean? They're a massive band. And then you had that last Sleep Token track, I think. Was that the last one that had the blast beats in it? I can't remember. One of the recent ones anyway had that whole like crazy kind of like black metal section. And I think that's kind of because of streaming services that people are a bit more susceptible to these types of music, where I don't know, there's like, for example, bringing it back to the record, like Atonement, if I'd explained that song to like myself maybe 10 years ago, I'd be like, that sounds like a fucking terrible idea. Like, you mean you're gonna have like a deathcore verse with like a sung chorus and then like a trad metal guitar solo. But nowadays, like I kind of feel people are more open to getting creative with blending the genres together.
I think it's become the norm now because I remember when Ammo came out, that was the album cycle I actually experienced with Bring Me the Horizon because I
Right,
got into them just after That's the Spirit. And
right.
I remember when Ammo came out and everyone was just like, what is this? Oh my God. And like, what have they done? And I think Ollie came out or one of them was like, oh, you won't understand it maybe now, but in a few years come back to it and you'll see.
Yeah, yeah, and I think that's kind of been the overall response, right? Because it seems like that record's like held in pretty high regard now, and is it's probably influenced like a lot of, not only to like all the bands in general, but like a lot of the bigger bands and their approach towards like, you know, albums now and having a sort of wider variety of styles on there. I think it's
Because
really
was
cool.
it? They had Danny Filth on a song.
Yeah, that's right. That's sick.
Yeah, and then they had like this super kind of like pop rocky with sugar, honey, ice, and tea, and everyone was like, "Oh, where's the roar? Do the roar!"
Either or. Yeah, absolutely. It was quite crazy because we saw that we played it was All Points East, and it was the year like Ammo had just come out and Bring Me the Horizon were headlining. And it was quite wild hearing them play some tracks off Ammo, and then they played a couple of tracks from like their first record. And it's really fun. Like I laugh at myself now because I was such a dumb metal elitist when I was like 14 years old or whatever. And I remember like hearing Bring Me the Horizon when they like released their first EP and their first album. I was like, this isn't metal, this is like lame or whatever. And I listened to like those like first few records now. I'm like, this is sick. At the time, I'm like, it's not Celtic Frost. But luckily
I,
I grew up.
that's fair. I only got into metal when I was like 13, thanks to Scuzz. Rest in peace.
Oh, big up Scuzz. Oh, I love Scuzz.
Miss it. But I was a big. You might know him because you're like British. I was a big N Dubs kid.
Oh yeah, I remember N-Dubs, yeah. Oh,
Yeah, they were my favorites before I discovered metal and all that.
fair enough. Fair enough. Yeah, no, same. I mean, it's like, yeah, it's not like my first band as a child, like that I listened to was Slipknot. I'm trying to think like who I was into early on. Oh, I can't remember. Probably something rubbish, but
And speaking of collaboration, if you could collaborate with any musician, dead or alive, who would it be?
oh, that's such a tough question. I mean, I am a huge Ronnie James Dio fan, so I guess for me, I'd have to pick Dio. If I could get Dio to sing on one of our songs, that would be great.
Imagine Dio, yourselves, and Jesse Leach all singing Holy Diver.
I don't think the heavy metal universe could take it. I think the world
No,
would just fall in on itself. I would definitely die from excitement. No, that is for sure.
because Killswitch Engage's version of Holy Diver is already epic. Like,
Oh, it's huge, isn't it? And I mean, another reason why I've got so much love for Killswitch is like They realized the fact that Dio was the best to ever do it, so they'll always have my respect for that.
And the music video is pretty cool.
Oh, it's so good, isn't it? Yeah. In an ideal world, I'd love to do a music video like that for one of like the other songs on our new album. I thought Last Laugh, the one with Serena on, would be a good like track for it. I just felt like it needs swords. It needs Justine riding on like horseback with a sword to go and like rescue Serena from some sort of like tower or something. Maybe,
You know,
maybe we'll do it.
do a spoof for was it I can't think of the name of it. Tis but a scratch.
Yes,
Monty Python. Do a spoof of that for the song. I think that'll fit
oh, that'd
perfectly.
be awesome. Justine will be like riding her imaginary horse. I'll be following along with like the coconuts. Just like that would be awesome.
And Justine could be a knight. That'd be pretty cool.
I think it would be sick. Yeah. So watch this space. It might happen. I'm manifesting right now.
Manifest, manifest.
Yeah.
Do you have any favorite album releases of 2025 so far?
Oh, that is good. Yes, I do. And now I'm on the spot and I can't think of any one of them off the top of my head. But I'll cheat. I'll
Feel
look at
free to browse your Spotify.
yeah, let me have a little look at that. Because I'm certain there's been a lot I've really enjoyed this year. There's the
Well,
Have a
Kill
Crew
Switches
record.
came out this year, didn't it?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, which is an absolute banger. So that's in there. The new there's yeah, I wouldn't have been able to pronounce this. So there's a band called Have a Crew, or at least I think that's how you pronounce it, from Finland. And they have a new record called To Vastland, which is very cool. Once again, I'm butchering however you pronounce the band name or yeah, or the album title. But that's very cool. It's kind of like pagan-y sounding black metal. But the new Killswitch album, like, yeah, I think is incredible. I mean, talk about earworms. Like, that's what I love about bands like Killswitch as well, is like it's still extreme, it's still heavy metal, there's blasts, there's like raging guitar solos and stuff, but there's some like just sick ripping choruses that just fully get stuck in your head. So
It's not afraid to have a chorus kind of thing.
no, exactly. And I think that's been a big thing for me in like the last however many years, where I think as a metal band, like you're not necessarily like restricted if you don't have singing, but at least for me as a musician, I felt like that was something I wanted to do. And the idea of doing a whole nother album without being able to kind of like introduce those kind of things, I was like, nah, I need to kind of explore. Oh, so I got a good one here. So this came out the other day. Really cool band called, this is another crazy name, Labyrinthus Stellarium, and they just dropped a record called Rift in Reality. I forget where these guys are from. They're from somewhere in Eastern Europe, I think. Once again, like black metal, but very different vibe. Like really, they got like a lot of electronic and like almost like techno sounding like stuff going on. Like you feel like you're watching a black metal band do a set with like an EDM like DJ or something. It's really cool though, so I'd recommend checking that out. And their
There's
logo is
a
like crazy and spiky, and you can't read it, so that means it's cool, I think.
there's a band actually that reminds me of that. They're called Within Destruction. Now they're from Serbia, and they're all like anime kind of themed, and it's just like
Oh,
this is the
sick.
craziest mashup I've ever seen.
Within Destruction, I'm trying to remember if someone played them to me once. I need to have a little look. Within
Their new album's called Annie Metal, and oh my god, it's the best thing ever.
yeah, yeah. This cover is pretty crazy. I don't know if I have heard this. Right, I'm saving that for later. Get that on. Get that on jamming away. Oh yeah, so then another one's come to mind. It's an EP, but there's this band called Final Resting Place
Oh
from
yeah.
America who just make the most filthy death metal. Basically, so the record came out this year, but they've purposefully made it sound like it was recorded in someone's basement in like 1995. Like it's like a homage to like a load of like underground death metal bands from that era, which I guess is another interesting thing about a lot of music coming out today. I think people have kind of realized in the metal world, particularly, that like pristine, clean production doesn't always suit every genre. Sometimes with like death metal and stuff, you do actually want it to sound like it was recorded in a cardboard box. And that's what that record sounds like, but in a good way. I'm not mugging it off.
Just add the like mono to like one headphone and get like, the proper touch of it was recorded on like one microphone.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, it doesn't sound like far off from that. Yeah, so they're killer. Other albums. What else has
I
dropped?
mean, Fallen Star is pretty good by Employed to Serve.
I've heard some people keep telling me to check it out, but I'm like, I'll get round to it at some point. I guess if I can be bothered. Problem is, as well, I got a lot of old stuff on here, but there's a few good new things to check out though. And like, is there that Bleed album that dropped the other day is pretty cool as well, actually. Self-titled Bleed record, which surprised me actually. There's quite a lot of like new metal bits on there. They've even got like some like DJ scratching and shit. If you couldn't tell what that was. So yeah, those are my picks, my current picks.
Awesome. And we're on to our last question. Do you have any advice for anyone wanting to start a band in 2025?
Absolutely, I do. And I guess trying to think how to sort of like narrow it down without going on some crazy monologue for an hour. So we've already touched upon making sure everything is fun. That is always a key thing. But then granted, sometimes things aren't fun, like you hit roadblocks and things happen and stuff like that. So, it's okay to be like bummed out about stuff from time to time. But, having done this for a while, I can safely say that, there's ups and downs. So every time you are having a shit moment, kind of be like, okay, this sucks for now, but like just kind of put your blinders on and just like focus on what you can actually kind of change and sort out yourself. You know what I mean? Like focus on what is in front of you and how you can fix the problem and move forwards. But yeah, I guess if you're just getting started, it's just kind of taking your time, making sure you're like, yeah, you don't rush anything. You know what I mean? Like take your time, work out like what your sound is all about, experiment a little bit. Don't be in a rush. Never be in a rush to get an album out either. Like, put out some, particularly now, like where it's totally normal for people to put singles out. Just experiment with your sound, put singles out, play some shows, find your footing as a live band. And I mean, that's a big thing these days as well, because obviously you get a lot of bands now blowing up on the internet and stuff like that, and
on MySpace and TikTok and all that.
Exactly, yeah, the MySpaces and the Bebos and all those kind of things. And yeah, and I think like there's a few bands like are suddenly sort of thrust into the limelight and playing these shows, and it's like shit, I've got to kind of get like gig ready now. So I think it's funny because I've heard within the industry a lot of like, people saying like, it doesn't matter about live now and like touring, is kind of, neither here nor there. And I'm just kind of like, there's an element of truth to that. But I also feel like if there's no practice like touring, like you can rehearse all you want in the practice room, but as soon as you've got to like get out there in front of people and do it, it's a whole different ball game. So never underestimate the power of of touring and getting that practice under your belt, and also building a fan base that way as well. Like that's always been how it's we utilize the internet and all that stuff, but like the basis of our fan base has always just come from playing shows and picking people up that way. But yeah, I said I wasn't going to do a sort of monologue, but I went off on a tangent there. But I guess, yeah, the main thing is just, yeah, making sure it's enjoyable. Don't let yourself become jaded. It's very easy, with working in this industry for, people to kind of beat you down and to shit get on top of you. But the key for me is always maintaining, like, being a fan first and being an artist second. So just keep your enthusiasm about the space you occupy, the places you play, and the world you're in. And I think the rest kind of comes naturally. But it is all about just kind of being happy in the moment and what you're doing, and just trying to, not become jaded. Because I think
just be chill.
Just be chill. Yeah. I think with most things, like the key is tenacity and just sticking around at it. You know what I mean? It doesn't always work like overnight you get success. Sometimes you got to grind it out. But I'm a firm believer if you stick around and you put your all into it and make sure it's the best you can do, that good things will always come from it, no matter what. So that would be my advice.
The wheel of karma.
Exactly. But yeah, just like you say, just be a chill dude, be nice, lift other people up, champion other people in your world and stuff like that, and it will make it a much more enjoyable experience.
Peace, love, and positivity.
Always. And heavy metal.
Sammy, thank you for taking the time out your day to chat with me.
My absolute pleasure. Thank you very much for having me on the show.
No worries. And Fallen Star is out now.
It certainly is.
Push comes to shove, you'll be the first one